Welcome, Karim. Thank you so much for being so patient and for bearing with us. I wonder if we could just begin, if you could just tell us something about Gaza, Sunbirds, about what you're doing, and of course, what the situation is for some of your colleagues who are actually in Gaza now. What are you hearing? What is the situation for them individually?
Sure, Mark. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for the other two speakers who joined us. It's an honor to be here with everyone. So my name is Karim Ali. I'm the co-founder of the Gaza Sunbirds. The Gaza Sunbirds is a paracycling team founded in the Gaza Strip. And it's run in the Gaza Strip, and all our staff are in the Gaza Strip, and our athletes are in the Gaza Strip. And it was founded in 2020. On the push of an athlete there who was the Palestinian cycling champion called Ala. Uh, Ala was the cycling champion for Palestine in 2018, and he'd been rejected for many opportunities to actually travel and compete internationally. In 2018, as we know, the Great March of Return happened, and it happened 4 months before the Asian Games in Jakarta. It was going to be Ala's first opportunity to leave Gaza in his life. He decided to go to the Great March of Return as an athlete. He wore his cycling clothes and he took his bike with him. And the idea was just to show people that we are human beings and we're athletes and we have to have the right to leave the siege and to travel, to see the world, to communicate with the world, to live, you know? Unfortunately, on that day, more than 6,000 Palestinians were shot. More than 3,000 ended up amputated or had severe injuries. And unfortunately, Ala was one of those 3,000. Ala was rejected medical leave from Gaza, and within days of his injury, it was forced to amputate his leg. And actually, he sometimes referred to it was almost like the amputation of his dream. And I often say this when I speak. Yes, it's so easy to get caught up in the number of casualties and the number of buildings that have been bombed. But the real depressing thing is like where you see rubble, we see dreams, we see our future, you see dead children, Every single death is an opportunity for an entire life that could have been lived, that could have found love, that could have produced love in this world, that could have bettered humanity. And, we've just murdered more than 3,000 of them in the span of 8 or 9 days. It's been 12 days now, sorry. I've lost all concept of time at this point. So, Ala and these other amputees and people with disabilities in Gaza, they have more than a right than anyone to be pissed off, to hate Israel for what it's done, and to hate the occupation, and, But with that, Ala decided that he wants to get back on his bike. He then became the first paracyclist in Palestine. Not only that, he decided he wants to start a paracycling team to help his other brothers who have gone through similar experiences not be victims anymore, retake control of their life, get back on a bike, strive for international competition, strive to represent Palestine on the world stage, strive to share their stories, to change the narrative. And if these people, Israel is saying that we are animals, Israel is saying that we're not human beings. If these people who have lost everything at your hands, everything, they can still love and they can still dream and they can still build and organize and create a community and a society for themselves. And every single thing that is being said to dehumanize us is absolutely false. How can we all be animals when people like in the most vulnerable of us are not willing to victimize themselves and are willing to get back together and are willing to build and to have hope and faith in a future?
Karim, this is where I think the essential humanity of most people comes in. I mean, we've just heard today of this poll of the British public that 76% want a ceasefire and end to what they're seeing. People are people all over the world. And I wonder, is it because, we are able to talk to you now and hear your story, and hear Alice's story and learn more, that actually especially through social media, I'm thinking, particularly through Instagram and what have you, which has been an immensely powerful tool for people to get their actual real stories out there, people are by and large much better informed. And that is why perhaps so many people are saying, no, this has got to stop. Do you think, is social media a help to you, do you think, in some respects?
I mean, just to be clear, Mark, I think this should have stopped 75 years ago.
Mm.
I think that the world has always known what is happening. And, us Palestinians, we have tried. Many have come before us and have died before us. To share our message. We have so many martyrs and so many great academics and great politicians that have come and gone, and are all saying the same message. We're an intrinsic part of the revolutionary identity of most societies out there. We have the privilege to be, because we've fought side by side with everybody. It's the reality is, the world knows, most good people know, it is consistently politicians that are twisting these stories so that they can benefit and they can save themselves and they can save face, instead of realizing the truth. Like, I feel like, what are we doing on Instagram? We're fighting for the truth. We're fighting not to accept the lies that are being said. And Instagram shadow bans us, and Instagram blocks our accounts and removes our posts. The Instagram is no saint. It doesn't.
Mm.
But definitely, we're very lucky generation to have this reach, to have this access to the world.
But also, is part of the Israeli attack on Gaza right now um, depriving Palestinians of electricity, the basic necessities of life, also partly to try and shut down people from seeing what's happening? Because if there's no power, eventually the phones run out. Eventually, the few journalists that are they're either killed or can no longer operate. So, do you think this is also part and parcel of their genocide, really, in Gaza now?
Of course. I mean, we saw this just yesterday with the Al Shifa hospital bombing, right? The Al Ahli hospital. It was bombed. They took claim for it and said that they killed a bunch of terrorists. In within hours, we released photographs of the massacres that happened, of more than 600, 700 Palestinian children and women who died, right? And men, they're innocent too, right? And then they came and tried to blame it on Hamas, and they don't want the truth to come out. They don't want the world to see the death. Let me tell you a little bit about my team and how they're doing at the moment. I try to speak to my team members every single day. Our team is a family. We are one unit. I love every single one of them with all my life, and I'm trying my hardest right now to be there for them. But it's not about me, it's about them. They are in a very tough position right now. They're in a very tough position. I speak to them every day. The situation is getting more and more desperate. I, I have been on the phone line with them multiple times when I have heard bombs dropping on their house and the signal cut. And thankfully, they survived. It's every time, I've even started to through the phone, I've even started to jump from the sound of the bombs. You hear the bombs dropping on the phone. It's not imaginary. It's not happening to imaginary people. No, you're on the phone and you hear them dropping. You know, everyone is in fear. Everyone just wants their family to live a good life. And the funny thing is that every single person you talk to, they're like, I do not care about myself. I only want my family to live. I don't want to put my family through the loss of losing me. There's been no water, no electricity. From 3 days in to this genocide, I was receiving voice notes from my athletes telling me, please, we don't have food, we don't have water. We don't know what to do. We need help. And thankfully, Ala, our team captain, has been there for his entire team throughout this entire thing. It's incredible to see the resilience. Yesterday, Ala went on one leg and distributed bread for 1,800 people in a refugee camp in the south of Gaza. He did it on one leg, with the message that you're not going to destroy our desire to live. You're not going to destroy our ability to help each other. We are determined to live a life that is worth living. And this is just the reality. It's water is pretty much not found. Every day, signal and electricity gets worse. I mean, I've noticed this because I'm in consistent communication with my team. We, in the last 4 days, we've dropped to the average phone call lasting 6 minutes. Today, the average phone call lasted 1 minute and 30 seconds before it was disconnected.
Mm.
Like, it's 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 terrible. It's horrible.
Have you got family in Gaza at the moment, Karim, yourself?
No, I don't have family in Gaza. No, fortunately, actually, I feel very privileged not to. But I consider this team my family. And their lives really weigh on me right now. I really hope that they're going to survive. I really hope that their dreams are going to survive. I hope that their vision to build something is going to survive. I hope that no more amputees have to join our team. I
Yeah.
pray for a future where this isn't the case. It's heartbreaking seeing this. We have an athlete, actually, just to tell you, his name is Abu Asfour, and he put his family in one of the schools. He's staying in one of the hospitals. My project manager told me the story today. He's an amputee, and he goes up to people who have just been injured, and he tells them, "Don't worry, you're going to be fine. You're going to regain control one day. You're going to be able to walk. When this war is over, when this genocide is over, we're going to let you join our team. You're going to join our team." This is in the midst of this desperation. They can still give hope to themselves and give hope to each other, and they take it as their duty to give hope to each other as well. What is more human than this? How can you? How I'm not that human. I don't know what I would do in their position.
It is unimaginable for us sitting here to think of people huddling together with their families as people are. They're actually saying, well, if we're going to be killed, we want to all die together. It's unimaginable. I mean, in this country, in Britain, where we're sitting here, in the Second World War and the big cities, the bombing raids, civilians were suffering. And at the end of that war, they said, never again. And we had the United Nations. You'd never allow this situation where civilians um, would be abused and killed in such ferocious and horrific ways as is happening right now in Gaza. And I suppose there's another, I suppose, a slightly more practical question. It's a very difficult thing, especially when you're struggling just even to survive and keep your fellow team members surviving. But are the international sporting bodies, celebrity sports people who have some influence out there? Are you in contact with any of these organizations and people, and how can they help if there's any way they can of
We're
doing?
not.
What can they
No,
do?
I mean, we would love if anyone in the international sports community would reach forward and talk to us. We have some communication with athletes. There's definitely a lot of solidarity with our team. We've had a lot of attempts to leave Gaza. The story of Gaza is decades old at this point. The situation is not like ridiculously better before this genocidal campaign started on the Strip. They still had limited access to water. They still had limited access to food. They still had limited access to electricity. Every day was still a struggle. Every day was still hell. They described it as hell. And you would hear people say, "I'm choking, I'm suffocating, I need to leave." How are
Mm.
they going to feel now? Imagine if the situation became worse than hell. Imagine you reached hell, and now the situation is worse than hell. So then what is it? How
Kareem,
how how
what a
can
lot
you?
of people don't understand, I suspect, is that you know Israel has closed Gaza off and turned it into this open air prison. This is one war of a number. And I was a reporter for Al Jazeera, and I remember previous wars. This is absolutely the worst that there has been in recent years. But at the same time, Egypt controls the crossing at Rafah as well as the Israelis. But people wonder why across the Arab world aren't the leaders being more supportive and doing more? The people in the street are, but what is it with the leadership in Egypt and Jordan and Saudi Arabia? To boycott a meeting is one thing, but why are they not saying to the Americans, stop your ally from doing this?
Mark, I'm not a political analyst or a politician by any means. I don't know if I'm best placed to give you an accurate analysis of the situation. Um, yeah, from my perspective, this is just like a standard change in the status quo over the years. I think financial interests, unfortunately, outweigh human interests for a lot of governments. We see this whether you're talking about climate change. We see this whether you're talking about indigenous rights. You see this whether you're talking about disability rights around the world. You see this when you're talking about how medication is allocated. It's consistently the same thing. It's someone is going to profit off of it. Someone is profiting off of it now. Someone is lining their pockets. Real estate developers are already planning what they're going to build in Gaza.
Karim, as we have to bring things to close shortly, but I just wonder, we're obviously going to, and my colleagues Omar and Alex are going to get this interview out in lots of different ways and lots of different media. So if you have a message to people out there, what is it? What can they do to help?
I would tell everybody that we are fighting for the truth. We are fighting for the future of decency and of everything we hold dear in this world. We've slept through so many genocides as humanity. In this day and age, there are no excuses. There is nothing that we will do that's going to excuse your silence now. This is the time to speak. This is the time to stand up. This is the time to start changing the narrative. This is the time to hold politicians accountable for what they're doing. If the British government wants to help kill thousands and thousands of Gazans, then they're committing war crimes just the same as the Israelis. And as people living in the United Kingdom, we are going to be as complicit if we're already as complicit. If we really want to do something to make a difference, to make a change, it's time. Go and support the marches that are happening. Speak to your local politicians. Educate your friends and family about Palestine. Post. If all you can do is post. Donate money. Support activists and Palestinian activists that have been doing this for years. Strike. If you want to strike, do what you need. But the point is that we all need to act, and the time to act is now. There's no tomorrow. It's already too late. It's already too late. This should have happened 75 years ago. And now we're on the last breath.
Well, thank you, Karim. At the end of the day, as both Raz and Chris and you were saying, I mean, the reality is there are 7 million Palestinians, and nothing is going to be achieved by violence and by killing people or by genocide. It will just redouble people's efforts to demand justice and to demand equal rights. That is all, it seems to many of us, that the Palestinians are demanding. And why, if we can't have equal rights in this country, can't Palestinians have equal rights where they live? Karim, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're very grateful for your time. We wish you all the very best, and also our thoughts are with your team in Gaza. And we hope that you join us again in happier times. So thank you very much, Karim.
Thank you, Mark. Have a good day.